امبارح 5/12 كان ميعاد جلسة النطق بالحكم في قضية ميلودي فارس المتهمة بقتل زوجها المليونير جاري فارس وحرق جثته في المحرقة سنة 2018. تقدروا تشوفوا تفاصيل القضية كاملة من حلقة جريمة المحرقة، اللينك هتلاقوه في أول تعليق. جلسات النطق بالحكم بيتم السماح فيها أولاً لأهل الضحية بإلقاء خطاب وداع، وده حصل بالفعل بس من خلال جواب كتبته إيميلي فارس بنت جاري وقرأته المدعية العامة، لأن إيميلي ما قدرتش تحضر جلسة الحكم على والدتها، واتقرأ خطاب الوداع واتعرض لحظات لجاري مع أحفاده وسط بكاء الابن الأكبر كريس فارس وكمان بكاء المتهمة. ثانياً بيتم السماح للمتهم بالإدلاء ببيان أخير، وعادة ما بيكون البيان ده عبارة عن طلب الرحمة لتخفيف الحكم أو طلب المسامحة من أهل الضحية. لكن اتفاجئ كل اللي كان في المحكمة إن ميلودي بعد ما رفضت الإدلاء بشهادتها أثناء المحاكمة بناء على نصيحة المحامين بتوعها، اتفاجئوا إنها بتقول أنا مش بس بريئة، لأ، أنا عارفة مين القاتل. القاتل هو ابني سكوت. وبدأت تبص لسكوت وهو قاعد في قاعة المحكمة وتقول أنا شفتك وانت راجع من المحرقة، ووالدتي اللي هي جدتك كانت عايزاني أدخل السجن بدالك وأنا قلت لها لأ. وسط نظرات من الذهول من الابن الأكبر كريس. معرفش ليه المخرج كان مركز على تعبيرات وش كريس أكتر من سكوت، بس يمكن عشان مش هو اللي بيتم توجيه الاتهامات ليه، ورد فعله على الاتهامات دي مهم خصوصا لما يكون رافضها وبيطلب من النيابة إنها توقف ميلودي عند حدها. وبالفعل النيابة حاولت توقفها، وردود فعل الناس كانت غضبانة ومش راضية عن تصرفات القاضي لأنه موقفهاش عند حدها، أو على الأقل كان يسمح للنيابة بإعادة استجوابها. لكن في ناس تانية رجعت تفكر في براءة ميلودي ورجعت تحس إنها مظلومة، وإن الخيانة مش سبب كافي للقتل، وإن بالفعل الأدلة ما كانتش كفاية. تقدروا تشوفوا الأدلة كاملة اللي اعتمدت عليها النيابة واعتمدت عليها هيئة المحلفين في إدانة ميلودي من نفس الحلقة جريمة المحرقة. تعالوا نسمع الخطاب اللي خلى الناس تعيد النظر في قضية ميلودي فارس.
I've written this so that I could get through the words.
Okay.
On July the 5th, 2018, 6 years, 5 months ago today, began the worst nightmare that I could have ever imagined. Not only my world, but my family's world was absolutely destroyed at the hands of one person. I've had 6+ years of being told not to talk. Don't say that. Take legal advice. I could walk out of this courtroom today and drop over dead. I want to make sure that my children, my grandchildren, and Gary's family, and to be honest, at this point in time, the entire world who has viewed this, I have waited for years to make this statement to everyone. I want the world to know who did this. I have always heard that the courtroom is the last place you're going to get the truth. And has that ever been proven to be the truth in this case? Not only did I not do this, I know who did. I know Scott killed his father. He took my husband, the father of Chris, Emily, and Amanda. He took Big Daddy from our grandchildren, Ella, Addison, Olivia, Jax, and James, 3 of them who never got to know Gary. Scott, this is unforgivable. Scott has spent an entire life of loving and protecting you, but this I refuse to cover for you. My mother, your mom, begged me to take the blame for this. She said after she talked to you after Gary died that she knew you had done it. Her exact words were, "You are his mother. You have to take blame for this." And I told her no, that I couldn't. I still have 3 other children, grandchildren, and this is not a stolen credit card, a check, or a diamond ring that you've pawned, all of which you have done. I saw you coming from that burn pile the morning of July the 5th in your truck. You told me that you were checking on the fire to make sure that it wasn't going to get the woods on fire. You told me it was okay. I asked you a few weeks later why you were at that burn pile in your truck. And you told me that your dad had told you to clean up the extra wood that was by the barn. I told Hayes that I had seen Scott that morning coming from the burn pile. So, Hayes, where is that recording? I want to know. You told me there was multiple recorders. You did, but you sat here in this courtroom and you told this court that you didn't tell anybody about recorders, but you did. Where is that recording in the interview? You, Scott, immediately started saying that there was a gun missing, a gun that nobody knew about. You never mentioned before. I asked you more days than not where your dad was, and this was the first time you ever had that response. There's a gun missing. You should have you did start immediately spinning your story. When you found out that Addison and Cameron were there the night before, you got so angry. Now I know why. When I went to feed the baby goat the morning
Hold on.
Your Honor, I'm not object at this point. It's all about facts of the case. You emphatically stated your statement needs to not be about facts of the case.
Right. Well, Ms. Ferris, really not supposed to go into the evidence of this phase of the case. And what I typically do is if the defendant wants to go into the facts of the case, I'm going to allow the state to cross-examine or ask questions, which I don't really anticipate you want to do.
I would just ask to
But
close, Judge.
your statements needs to be constrained to the punishment, and if there's things you want to talk about in relation to that and how I should sentence you, I don't have a problem if you want to continue to profess your innocence, but we're not going to go on for a significant period of time. You resuscitate your view of the case and your opinion as to what the evidence is without your prior testimony and without the state being able to cross-examine it. It's not proper. So I'm going to ask you to restrain your remarks to comply with those directions.
Judge, this needs to be known.
Well,
I'll just ask to respond, Judge.
all right. All right, go ahead.
I went to feed the baby goat the morning of July the 5th before I left for the lake. I saw where you had washed out the barn. I later found that several bottles of house wash were missing after this all happened several weeks ago. Now I know why. The photos of your bathroom spotlessly clean. Now I know why. I know why you demanded me to move the tractor that you so were upset about it being in the place. Now I know why. Scott, you called me on July the 4th and asked me what my plans were for the day. And I told you I was going to the lake with Amanda, and you were so glad that I was going. I thought it odd then. Now I know why. I found copies of my birth certificate, your dad's birth certificate, our marriage license in your truck. Now I know why. Scott, I saw Gary going to that barn the night of July the 3rd, right after you got home. And then Scott is going, and I thought then Scott's going to be in trouble for staying at the lake and playing golf all the time. Never in a million years did I ever think that this nightmare was starting then. I told you, Detective Hayes, that I saw Scott going over there to the barn. Where is that in the recording? A bag. I know exactly where and when I was standing. But
I'm objecting. At this point, she's dragging Scott through the mud and his character. This is not proper.
All right, Ms. Ferris, I'm going to cut you off if you keep just wanting to resuscitate facts that aren't before the court. And Ms. Frankish, I'll give you a chance to respond to the extent that you want to and give you closing statement.
I am the mother that was always there for my children, even though they had done things that were wrong. Chris, who took care of your girls and loved them if they were my own, who came and got them off the street when you were acting an absolute fool because they were scared to death, who drove down to Buckhead and got your children.
Now, I will tell you, okay, so just to kind of give you some direction. Things that are appropriate, you helping take care of your family, raise your family, those kind of things, what you've done throughout your life, and asking the court to exert some sort of mercy on you, things of that nature are appropriate. So you can talk about those kind of things, but let's don't go into the individual facts or things that haven't been previously presented to the court, okay? All right, go ahead.
I love Ella and Addison more than life itself. And it was their life or mine, it would be mine in a heartbeat. Emily, who helped you move to and from an apartment and a house in 19-degree weather, even though I knew that you were trying to keep it from me. I was always there for you. I came back to you in Thompson Station after your husband was arrested to care for you and Olivia. I am so sorry that your children will never know their Big Daddy. Amanda and Chad, words cannot express my gratitude for everything that you've done for me. Thank you so very much. And I was fortunate enough to get to care for James every day since he was 3 weeks old. He is my pride and joy. Love for that little boy is unbelievable. I spent 18 plus months in the Cherokee County Jail over something that I did not do. The last thing, I thought that was the last thing I could do to Gary, for him, to get justice for him. Amanda was the only one of my children that got up here and told the truth. And I thank her for that every day. Judge Cannon, I am begging for justice for Gary, for my children, for my grandchildren, for Gary's family. And I am begging that you throw out this verdict. Be the 13th juror. Help us get justice. I did not do this. I promise you on my life, the 18 months that I did in Cherokee County was nothing compared to the last month that I spent in there. Now I know that Cherokee County did not do their job in the investigation. They took Scott's story and ran with it. I know that in my heart, body, and soul, who did this. And I'm begging for help. I'm begging you, Judge Cannon. Please do not send me to prison for something I didn't do. I did not do this. If I had done this, I would take this charge gladly. If it would bring Gary back, I would gladly go to prison. I do not want to wait years for an appeal. I've waited 6 years and 5 months for justice already, but here we are. Maybe I should have testified, but I listened to legal counsel. I wanted the truth out there, and this is why I am making this statement. I will talk to any and everyone who can help me and my family. I never wanted my family's life to be played out for the world to see. It is a mother's job to protect her children, and I cannot protect the person who did this. When I heard of the mother of the boy at the Appalachia school shooting, she called to tell that her own son was going to the school with a gun. My heart broke for her. This is a mother's worst nightmare. Judge Cannon, I beg of you for help. As one parent to another, help me get justice for Gary and my family. A mother, or at least not this mother, does not blame her child unless she knows he did it. Not thinks, knows. And I would never sit here and let the attorneys lay blame to him if I didn't know. You have no idea how heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching this is. John Luke says that I'm the most stoic person he's ever met. My response was, you never know how strong you are until that's your only choice. So before it's said that the only reason I'm telling you this is because I got a guilty verdict, it's not. If it had come back as not guilty, I would have still been begging for justice, for help getting the right person convicted. As soon as I walked out of the courtroom, I promise you I would have done that. Chris, Emily, Amanda, Ella, Addison, Olivia, Jack, and James, I am doing this for you. Gary is gone, and trust me, when I say that he is in a better place, because this has been the worst nightmare. It's been hell on earth. Knowing that your own son did this. And it's only been by the grace of God that I have survived this last 6 years and 5 months. If I could, I would gladly trade places with Gary. Judge Cannon, I am begging you for help. Please do this for Gary and my family. Be the person in Cherokee County that it is their task. I do not want years. I do not want to wait years for justice, years that I may not have. I know this is something that you may never have seen before. And I plead with you to roll this verdict out. Help me get justice for the correct person. As bad as it sounds, I want to be there to watch him chained and shackled and brought to justice. I plead with you. This is something that I will never recover from. I don't know that my family will ever recover from. Please help me. I'm begging you to restore my faith in the judicial system. I'm begging you, not for me, but for Gary and my children and my grandchildren.
بعد نهاية خطاب ميلودي، القاضي حكم عليها بالسجن مدى الحياة مع فرصة للعفو المشروط، لكن بعد ما تقضي 30 سنة في السجن. وقال جملة أنا بعتبرها تعليق ساخر، لأنه قال الحكم ده زيه زي الحكم بدون فرصة للعفو المشروط، في إشارة لأن سنها كبير وممكن بعد 30 سنة تكون ماتت.
I don't have much latitude in sentencing. The legislature has spoken, and the penalty for murder is life. The only determination I have is whether I would be with parole or without parole. I don't believe this is a case that justifies a life without parole sentence, so I'm going to sentence to life with parole, or life with the possibility of parole. I don't have any control over parole. That's up to the parole board. Under the current guidelines and sentencing structure with them, a life sentence is a minimum 30 years before you'd be considered for parole at this point. I recognize that that is likely a life sentence for you, but you'll have the hope and possibility of parole.